logo. Hello, YouTube. This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones in Cape Town, and this is the games of the week. Hello, mate. How you doing?
How's it, man? I'm back in my power structures everywhere I walk. I've done 17 bad things. So, part of my life story is to move to different places. I can get away from the bad stories. But last night we had the blackmail bride party where I'm sort of wondering, why does every story include me? But it's been really good to be back back home.
Common denominator.
And I would say the way, Cape Town vibes around a test match is so different from how Josie or Pretoria does. There's sort of this kind of like we're above it all. Like, we're not going to get too crazy yet. But I could tell today everything had amped up. Just this kind of palpable feeling around the southern suburbs where everyone's, very horsey, even like horsey in their faces a little bit sometimes. There's some fair amount of inbreeding in the Constantia area. Just cousins, guys. But no, it's become very interesting. It's become heated. This is a bitter rivalry week, my friend.
Yeah.
What is going on?
The world's greatest rivalry, we're being told. It's wonderful to be back for week 4 of the Rugby Championship, and we are very, very pleased to be brought to you through the tournament by Chasing the Sun 2, a wonderful, wonderful 5-part all-access series documenting Springboks' journey to their memorable 2023 Rugby World Cup, and which is coming soon to RugbyPass TV worldwide. Just head to rugbypass.tv, sign up for free, and you can watch it wherever you are in the rugby world. We're here at the end of another week, mate, but make sure you do go back and find episode 30 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby podcast with Marcelo Bosch, our Argentinian mate. It's fantastic always to get the Los Pumas perspective on the Rugby Championship this season. And it was really interesting, I thought, to hear him speaking in very, very similar terms about the Argentinian and the Australian squads at the moment. So it was really, really interesting to speak to Cello earlier in the week. Before we get into games of the week, mate, we didn't really get to do much of a debrief of Ellis Park in episode 30. A couple of days on now, what do you feel like we still need to sort of talk about and acknowledge, and where are you feeling now leading into another week?
A rugby match, especially one that's momentous, you can see it so many different ways. It's almost like anyone can pick their theme and run with it. So, when I say what I'm about to say, I'm not discounting any other telling of it, but it seemed like a reversal inflection point kind of moment where you have one team that's struggling to finish matches and sometimes lacks a belief that it will do so. Another team that's almost always winning the final 20 and can almost manufacture a team sheet where we finish strong, start strong, middle strong. We can have, 45 minutes of nothingness and then sort of come back and win it in 20 minutes. And that's interesting because that was a flip of the script. The All Blacks were always the ones who did that thing to us, where and I say us, I mean Wallabies as well, where they would kind of just lie behind the rock and soak up pressure and be behind and then kind of gut our hearts out at the end.
And somehow find a way to win, like the bastards they are.
And so what's funny about that is All Black fans, and let's just put one thing to rest here, all fans everywhere, and particularly when you're in the top 4 or 5, so I'll include England in the top 5 there, are very whingy when they lose. It's just a matter of how many people they have. New Zealand does not have many people, okay, guys? Yeah. Let's all go back to mathematics and rates and per capita. It's like why we had struggles during COVID. Because people don't really, didn't pay attention to mathematics. And in maths, we would have to say, if you had 60 million Kiwis, they'd probably be pretty loud on Twitter, okay?
Yes,
so,
yes.
No one likes it. But the one thing that I found the most hilarious was, well, guys, we won 62 minutes. So when we dominated for 62 minutes, we're like, dude, we've been saying that for 2011, 2012, 2013. That was our little chorus. We would beat you for 62 minutes, and then Bowden Barrett would do something ridiculous and lose, and we would lose. So I think that was Ellis Park. Ellis Park was either a changing of the guard, or in Cape Town, we'll learn it was a blip. No, the All Blacks still have it. But it felt very much like the All Blacks were struggling to know how to close out a match, which makes no sense to you and I trauma sufferers.
Yeah. Are you having through this run, and this run's been going on for a couple of years now, are you having pause to consider at some point that it has to end somewhere, sometime? Have you given pause to thought to think when that might come?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like sports always has cycles. However, you look at the All Blacks as an example, and they were really good for 100 years.
No, really, 15 years. Yeah, exactly. And they're not terrible now, for the record.
I don't think rugby is an easy to catch up sport. I don't think that we're going to have 12 competitive teams for a title or number one ranking. I think we're still in the 4 to 5. Yep. Sometimes 6, and then in any given year, you can almost go before and say it'll be one of these 2 or 3 teams. I think South Africa has a couple of things going for it. One, even though there's 65 million people, it was really only a sport for 5 million, then 6, and then 8, and then 10 for a long, long time. So in that sense, Australia is very similar. It's not like Ireland where you can max out the schools, because a lot of schools don't even have rugby in South Africa. So you have to find talent. That talent is being found now. When you win, people idolize you. When you have Sia Kolisi, Cheston Colby, Kanan Moody, Lucanio they are touching different communities. Yeah. So there is a good shot that the talent pathway is still open for a good 10, 15 years. That being said, coaches come and go, and you and I know that coaching can really matter. Hello, Eddie Jones. So I think you have to prepare yourself for what if post Rossi you have maybe a political appointment or someone who's shoot in there who's not ready, and then you have some sort of tragedy. But for now, it looks like to me that South Africa is preparing to win different ways now. Yeah, and it doesn't look that great when we run from 22, but I think that could be a style that Tony Brown can work on.
There's definitely a different look and feel about the Springboks of 2024 to the Springboks of October 2023. There just is.
That's why it's funny to talk about Ellis Park and say all that, and then now we look at the team sheet for this week, and here we have Andre Pollard back in starting.
Yes. So let's then get into it. And you're right. Teams are out for the Boks and for the All Blacks as well. Argentina and Australia will name their team late Thursday in South America. It'll be early hours of Friday morning, Australia and New Zealand time. Oh, no, thanks. I'm good. No, thank you for bringing that up. I don't even know what we've just seen. But yeah, a number of changes for the Boks. Peter Steph Totoy is back to the side of the scrum. Even Itzebeth back in the starting side. Kanan Moody back on the right wing. Billy LaRue back at fullback. A bit of an overhaul of the bench. Quagga Smith is not playing lock off the bench, but he's wearing number 19 apparently. And then of course Sasha Feinberg and Mngomezulu to the bench for the All Blacks. I think the big ticket items are TJ Perinara and Beauden Barrett being dropped to the bench, which saw a headline with Scott Robertson, the All Blacks coach, saying it was difficult but necessary in order to try and catch the Boks off guard this week in Cape Town. If you say you're trying to catch a team off guard and you're saying it 2 days before the game, can that still happen?
Yeah. It's interesting. There's been a lot of useless semantics and blowhardery in this series so far. Like, the New Zealanders pretending to be surprised by Eben Etzebeth being on the bench when everyone knew that was a distinct possibility. And also, he's played 22 consecutive tests against you. So what else do you need to know about the guy? What's the scouting book say about Eben Etzebeth? Yeah. Beauden Barrett from the bench is really normal. That is like nightmares, actually. I coined him as Beauden Bok beating Bastard Barrett, B, and he is the bomb squad this week, along with Anton Leonard Brown. And
what do you call it? One-man bomb squad.
Yeah. Beauden Barrett, to me, always seemed like better from the bench. He just did. He seemed like a guy who kept up. Against England, you saw that kind of echo of that. I think this heaps oodles of pressure on Damian McKenzie. I think Damian McKenzie now is just fully locked and loaded with a Will Jordan being his second playmaker, not necessarily, the guy you think of. Geordie Barrett Still limited at 12, I think, and Rico Iwani not necessarily a playmaking 13. That's just all Damien. Hey, Damien, drive the ship.
Yes. Yeah. And so we've talked about this in the last month or so, and we have pondered whether Mackenzie and Bowden Barrett, 10-15, whether they're actually playing against each other. So is this now Razor saying, all right, Damien, here you go. Here's the keys.
Yeah, I don't think this is an experimental test for Razor. I would think Razor has a fair amount of pressure to win or come close. It cannot be a blowout. And so I don't think you could dismiss this as – I think on TJ Perenara, you can say that that's a tactical choice. But I think on Damien McKenzie steering the ship, he wants to see what that looks like. And then he wants to see his Crusader boy, Will Jordan, come in and bring some sort of Christian Cullen energy from the back. I do think on the other side, so both teams are doing matchup games here. Rassi, for the second time in 3 years, delayed his naming of his team until after the All Blacks. And then what you saw was a matchup. So now you have a 5-3 bench for the Box, and you have Andre Pollard starting with Williams.
Unheard of. A 5-3 bench, that'll never catch on.
So there's one, so I can see this working both ways. And one thing is you fight the lost war. So All Blacks have been trapped in trying to defeat the bomb squad, and then there's no bomb squad. It's like, whoops, there it is. And then Sasha's the only part of the bomb squad, and it's not a forward coming on. You also still, to me, have a problem with matching Kwacha, even if he's on part of a 5-3 benches. Who is the counter? Who is the antidote to Kwacha?
It's still interesting there that there's still two back rowers. In a 5-3 split, he's not actually putting a second rower there. He's got two back rowers on the bench.
Elric Lowe can play lock.
And Peter Steph obviously can go forward too.
This is a Peter Steph to Toy move where I think what happens is Peter Steph goes to 4 lock. I think Ruan Norchi has to play the hole, or then Lowe comes in for him. And then, it looks like to me it's a speed. It's a speed team, except with Pollard starting, which spells kicking, and then Villiers is coming in now as the playmaker.
Yes. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Pollard over Feinberg and Gomzulu. Is this Rassi going, all right, we've got here by playing a bit, but this week, you know what? We just can't lose. So we just need to kick everything. And so, all right, Andre, you're in, mate.
I think this. So I look at this team, and what I immediately thought was, are we going to F them up quickly? And then we want Sasha to come on and get the kind of the win. Or if we're behind, then play better catch up. Jaden Hendricks as well is named as well. So you have actually interesting. You have a very, very quick 9 to start, and then you have more of a kicking 9 to finish. Yeah, like the Conor Murray situation with Ireland.
Yeah. And so I'll come back to TJ Perenara. So what? Looking at those two teams, what it feels like to me is that we get a scoreline of 25-21. New Zealand score 3 tries to 1, and the Box kick. Pollard kicks 6 from 6 penalties, and Villiers puts on 1 try, and that's how they'll win it.
It does feel like a must-win. It feels like So obviously, if South Africa wins, you win the Freedom Cup back. We probably finish the tournament out in all but name. Maybe even like actually win the tournament.
Bonus point win, I think, puts you out unassailable. Yeah.
And that would be so. The one thing that's really grated on South African fans and the South African rugby firmament is this idea of like clear separation between us and the All Blacks. And there hasn't been, because it's always been 1 point here, 1 card there, 1 ref's call there. This seems like one where let's build an actual lead so that we go into the second half ahead and then finish it off. I think for the All Blacks, it's sort of similar. They're not convinced. I ran to the All Blacks up top of Table Mountain and talked to TJ Perenara. Yeah. All I'll say is,
hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. We've got to pause on this. You can't just drop in there. I ran up to Table Mountain. I was talking to TJ Perenara. Come on, explain yourself here. We've seen the on social media.
There were about 8 or 9 All Blacks going up. Caleb Clark was one of them. Tamati Williams. And TJ Perenara was the ringleader. Jason Ryan was the only coach that was up there that I saw. Right. And TJ Perenara is just a chatty guy. So, like, if you walk up to him and you say, you want to talk about the game, he will talk about the game. And then there's at some point where Jace Ryan will come over and literally stop the conversation. So in that little interval between those two things happening, what he said was that they feel like they could win a grind game, that they feel like the scrums are opportunity. So it's interesting that really does seem to strike at the core of South African identity is, do you think that Lomax and Williams could actually, get the upper hand? I think that's possible, right?
Over Mount Herder and Inche.
Yeah, so I think there's a proper scrum battle brewing. Look, this is a very interesting matchup game because everyone's changed. It feels like those NBA series where one team plays each other 7 or 1,000 times or whatever, and the coaches are making these little tiny tactical shifts. Yeah. And this feels like Razor doing his first interesting tactical shift.
They're like the two leading Formula One teams trying to find the extra 100th of a second.
Yes, exactly.
So tell me, last question on this then. Did you ask TJ Perenara directly, or did you have to ask Jason Ryan if TJ can come on the pod?
No. I'm going to guard my sources and methods for a little bit until we get to yes.
Cool. All right, cool. We'll talk about that after we hit stop. Very good, very good. Look, it's going to be a really interesting game. I think there's an expectation of New Zealand bounce back, but there's also an expectation of South Africa almost needing to show they can go on with it. And so it shapes as a really, really interesting contest because of that. And so, that's going to be worth the very early alarm for me on Sunday morning. You are looking forward to it, no doubt. What's going to be the difference between Cape Town Stadium and the old Newlands, atmosphere-wise?
It was much more intimate in Newlands. You were on top of the game. You could literally, if there was a little bit of a lull, you could shout something and the player would hear you, like audibly, easily. Cape Town is not like that, the DHL. However, it's a fortress. So Boks have won 3 or 4, including all the Lions games were played there. And so there's a brewing, it's much more gluten-free, like vegetarian, rad kind of fortress, but it could be a fortress. And
lactose-free. Yeah, right. It will be interesting. That's Cape Town, 5 o'clock local time. It's 1 a.m. in Australia, 3 a.m. in New Zealand for that one. So do not miss that. Of course, the other game of the weekend is the return leg between Argentina and Australia in Santa Fe, 4 p.m. local time, 5 a.m. in Australia. Breakfast rugby in New Zealand as well. And as I say before, we haven't seen teams for that. We won't for another good few hours yet. But seems like the Wallabies will definitely be without Noah Lolesio and Tom Wright. And I think I've seen Lukan Salakai-Loto might be missing as well. And that's 3 fairly important cogs in the current Joe Schmidt wheel, I would suggest, will be missing. So it's going to be a very different looking Wallabies team.
I feel like the win was built around tight 5 superiority. Yeah. So that's a worry, what you just said to me. And also, I've always thought that this return fixture would be very difficult for the Wallabies. And not because the Pumas have held back or anything. That you just look at the 3 or 4 years in a row, on the return fixture against the Wallabies, they've been
always harder. Yeah. So, we can only sort of speculate a little bit. I suppose that we might see, someone like Jeremy Williams maybe coming back in the starting team alongside Nick Frost. He's been pretty good so far. Tom Wright and Rob Valentini. I'm going to need you to turn your camera back on if you're still there with me. Tom Wright and Rob Valentini are the only 2 Wallabies to have started every game this year. There's a number of other players, including Lolesio and Andrew Kellaway, have played all 6, but Kellaway and Lolesio come off the bench for other games. So Wright and Valentini were the only ones to have started, and now it looks like Wright misses that. Seems like Kellaway probably slips to fullback. Max Jorgensen starts on the right wing, and that sort of feels like it was going to happen at some point anyway. So we might as well see what the kid can do, I suppose. Kellaway at the back will be nice and safe.
I still think it'll come down to gain line. You wrote a good
No
article
doubt.
about the heavy
No doubt.
carrying, but quality of Rob Valentini. But if you add Rob Valentini and our friend Harry Wilson together, those two, that's a lot of carrying going on.
It is. Yeah.
The degree to which they can do that, find the right holes, find these different channels that they're moving on and tip well. I feel like the Wallabies have a shout because, as Marcelo, our good friend Cello, was talking about, there is a lack of patience sometimes in Argentina's team. So if they can kind of just keep the ball away from Argentina in whatever way they can find to do that, there could be something here. Yeah.
Now, Cello mentioned to us earlier in the week that Thomas Kubeli was going to come back into the Argentinian squad, but that's not going to happen from what I understand now. It sounds like he might have picked up a bit of a knock or a niggle in that club game he played on the weekend. So Thomas Kubeli won't be playing. So there'll be a bit of a shuffle there around the halves. Expecting many differences. I feel like every time Argentina names a team, they sort of, I think they put 10 forwards into a pot and they just pick 8 out. And they go, all right, that's the starting pack this week.
That's very well put. I have had the same thought myself.
I don't know what to expect in terms of Argentinian pack, because this could be the week that Pablo Matera goes back to 6. This could be the week that Guido Petty starts. I don't know.
It almost feels like at an amateur rugby club, you just platoon people and you just kind of have, it's your turn. Hey, this weekend you're starting. It doesn't seem like there's actual like a designated
play 8 this week. All right. Yeah, you play 8. All right.
Yeah.
You've never packed at the back of a scrum before in your life, but sure, you play 8. Yeah. That's and I don't say that at all to downplay their effectiveness. Whatever they come up with, it's still going to be a very, very good Argentinian side. I have no doubt about that. But I've always found that they're a hard team to get a read on because there's so many moving pieces from one game to the next.
The back line has true incumbency. Like, Chocobaris, Sinti, where he's healthy, where he's playing. But everyone else in the pack just seems to be the back five, particularly. The back five is just whoever wants to play somewhere. And Marcus Kremer blocked today. Yeah.
Everyone take one step to the right. That's sort of what it feels like.
Fun.
What do you...
And the only rivalry that's not that spicy right now is Argentina-Australia. There's no bad blood going back and forth. Everything on the other side. Springbok Wallabies getting terrible now. All Blacks. It's just all,
But it could...
allegations of everything.
Yeah. Just don't even get me started.
Even the New Zealand tours now, the Wallaby fans are saying, "Well, are you leaving us high and dry?" So it's just the Tri-Nations rivalry is very spicy right now.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Argentina, Australia, I feel like could start becoming something like Australia Wales was for 10 years. It seemed like Wales and Australia would play every November, and it was all, no matter how either team were going, it would always be a really close game. And the Argentina-Australia games have been like that for a few years now.
Yeah, I don't know who I'd pick. I mean, literally at this point, I'd probably say Argentina by 3, something like that. Yeah. And only because they're at home. If they were playing in Brisbane, I would say the other way around.
It'll be nice to see a dry game. Neither team have been playing, or both teams have been playing in wet weather for the last couple of games exclusively, so it will be nice to see a dry game, and we'll see how it all plays out on Sunday morning in Australia. And we do love breakfast rugby, albeit very easy. Second round of the Pacific Nations Cup is this weekend as well. It starts on Friday with Tonga hosting Fiji in Nuku'alofa. It's 4:00 local time. Japan hosts the USA on Saturday night at 8:05 local time as well. So that's carrying on. The NPC this weekend, there's a couple of interesting games there. Auckland North Harbour is always a bit special, as is Otago Canterbury will be a bit curious as well. Taranaki Waikato, there's lots of good derby games this weekend in the NPC. In the Curry Cup, you just block your ears for a minute.
Thank you.
Can Province beat the Griquas? We'll find out. I'm not sure they can. The Lions hosting the Griffins. Sharks Bulls will be interesting there as well. But There it is, full time on another Rugby Championship edition of Games of the Week. Our service to rugby fulfilled for another week, mate. Thank you. Well done.
Oh, man. Cannot wait.
Well done. I'm sure you're looking forward to it. It will be good fun. And look, tell us what you think at the 8-9 combo on all the socials, or leave your thoughts in the comments section right here on the 8-9 YouTube channel, or you can tell Harry and I on the socials in our usual places. As mentioned at the top, go and find our chat with Marcelo Bosch from earlier in the week for episode 30. It was a really, really good chat to kick the rugby week off. And please do like, follow, subscribe on your pod platform of choice and on YouTube as well. And make sure you get every episode as soon as it drops, which includes another test match post-mortem following the Argentina-Australia game this week in Santa Fe. And we'll cover off New Zealand and South Africa in Cape Town as well. Don't forget as well to head to RugbyPass TV, where you can see the 2019 series of Chasing the Sun, the documentary series celebrating South Africa's 2019 Rugby World Cup title win, and with the 2023 series Chasing the Sun 2 coming very soon. Sign up for free and watch it wherever you are in the rugby world. This is Games of the Week from the 8-9 combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realise you needed, coming from the podcast double act you already had. I'm Brett McKay, he's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears on Sunday morning Australian New Zealand time with another Rugby Championship edition of the Test Match Post-Mortem.
Come play with us.